Quite a few upsets in college football this week. Colorado over TCU, Texas State over Baylor last night with Duke over Clemson. But we're going to talk about one in particular. We're going to talk about Texas State over Baylor. Evan, my question to you is, was this more of a success for Texas State or was this more of a collapse for Baylor?
More of a success for Texas State, hands down. I think you look at what happened in that game. You've got GJ GG Kinney, I think his name is the coach. He was at Incarnate Word last year. They made the FCS Final Four, and then he moves up to Texas State. You hit the portal right away. You go get TJ Finley, who is struggling in the SEC. You bring him in. He has a great game, and you put up 42 points against usually one of the better Big 12 teams. We'll get to Baylor in a second. But no, I think this is more of a success for Texas State. This is also a success for the Sun Belt. I mean, you look at a conference like the Sun Belt and all the realignment that everything's gone on. The Sun Belt has stayed strong. Not only have they kept their teams, they've gotten a lot better too. I mean, Texas State, if you look at the records, I remember they were one of the teams in 2020 that were still playing when nobody else was because they were so desperate to play. But you're talking bottom barrel teams. Texas State, Louisiana Monroe just got a victory over Army the other day. So this is also not only a victory for Texas State, but the Sun Belt as a whole. And to me, this just signifies with the portal, the transfer portal, with all the bad stuff, I think, not bad stuff, but the unfortunate stuff in college football, like the super conferences. I'm still not fully on board with the 12-team playoff, all the weird stuff kind of going on. I think the transfer portal, the NIL deals and all that have been a plus because it really levels the playing field. I mean, this game 5 years ago, Baylor would have, even if Baylor was down, they would have won 70-0 or 50-0 or whatever. But now Texas State with an offense, they can come out and play, and they did. So credit to them. With regards to Baylor, I think, listen, obviously this is not the start that they wanted. For sure, pretty embarrassing because the score was actually close. They only lost by 11, but they were down by more. So the score was actually closer than the game would indicate. But I think Baylor had it going in with, first of all, the Big 12 is not much of a defensive conference in the first place. So you give up 42. You guys do that every week in the Big 12. But at the same factor, they've got some stuff they got to figure out. I'll get to that in a little bit. But I think for sure Texas State impressed, and it's way more impressive for Texas State than it is an embarrassment for Baylor. But what do you think, Jake?
Yeah, I think it's more of a success for Texas State. You talk about, the coach coming over from Incarnate Wood, coming to Texas State, hitting the portal right away, going to get TJ Finley, a transfer from Auburn, who's struggling in the SEC. And then he accounts for 4 touchdowns in his first game against Baylor, 3 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown. Also, a point I want to make on Baylor, their starting quarterback Blake Shapen would
Yeah.
not would had suffered a MCL injury and will not be ready when Utah comes to Baylor next week.
Okay, so that was going to be my criticism, Baylor, because, okay, like I said, you give up 42 points, you're in the Big 12, right? But on offense, there was some concerning things. Blake Shapen, he had the pick right in the end zone. He had a lot of forced throws. He had a lot more throws that could have been picks. At the end, I know they were down 11, but still, you could have had a shot. He was running, no security at all. The defensive back just goes, whoop, and punches it right out. He was definitely a concern. I know it's week 1. I know, you're just getting back into it, but he was their quarterback last year. He was their main starting quarterback last year. You got to have better play against it. Again, the defensive stuff that's going to happen in college football, but on offense, you got to be able to fight a little more against it's supposed to be inferior competition. Although I think the Sun Belt is working their way up. Hot take, not quite yet, but hot take to potentially be that 5th Power 5 with the no more Pac-12. But anyways, not quite there yet.